How did superheroes go from this to this? This isn't the regular TV memo where the superheroes are the good guys. Over here, it's the opposite, and the good guys, just regular guys. All through the show, it's Superman level powerful versus a, wait for it, TV salesman. No powers, no armors, just pure grit and determination to survive. You know, they say not all heroes wear capes, but in this series, the bad guys wear capes too. Okay, so right into the story. There's this regular dude named Hughie who sells TVs at an electronics store. Nice guy, kinda awkward, has a girlfriend named Robin. They're walking down the street, holding hands, probably talking about dinner plans or whatever normal couples talk about. Then, bam! A superhero named A-Train runs through Robin at like 1,000,000 miles per hour. And when I say through, I mean she literally explodes into red mist. Hughie's just standing there holding her hands, except now he's only holding her arms. Just the arms. No Robin attached. Super traumatic way to start a show. A-Train stops for maybe 2 seconds, goes, "Sorry dude, can't stop," and zooms off because apparently he's got somewhere more important to be. And that right there, that's the core message about superheroes in this TV show. They're total jerks. Well, considering what Hughie just experienced, he's a complete mess, walking around like a zombie, probably wondering if reality is even real anymore. Now, you'd think Vought International, that's the mega corporation that owns and manages all the superheroes like their boy bands, you'd think they'd publicly acknowledge what happened, maybe show some remorse. But nope, instead of owning up and apologizing, they offer Hughie 45 grand to shut up and sign some papers saying that he won't sue. Basically hush money with a corporate smile. Hughie is completely pissed about how everything went down, but what happens next completely radicalizes him. And this, my friends, is how villains are made. Just kidding. But from here on out, the plot definitely thickens like bad gravy. At Robin's funeral, a British man in a Hawaiian shirt approaches Hughie. His name's Billy Butcher, who says "Oi" all through the show, and looks like he got kicked out of a British pub for being too angry. Butcher's like, "Oi kid, wanna get revenge? Also maybe plant a listening device in superhero headquarters?" And Hughie, who's not exactly thinking clearly at the moment, is like, "Yeah, sure, why not? My girlfriend just exploded."
Okay, man, I'm in.
So Butcher draws up a plan involving Hughie getting into the Seven's fancy tower to plant a bug. Oh, wait, who are the Seven? Right, so they're basically this world's Avengers, the biggest superhero team around, all managed by a company named Vought. Think Justice League, but sponsored and morally bankrupt. These guys manage every one of the atrocities they do. Hughie plants the bug and everything's going fine, but here's the thing about this show. Nothing goes well for too long. Bam! They run smack into Translucent, one of the Seven who can turn invisible. There's this whole messy fight, and Hughie somehow electrocutes his bare bum, leaving him unconscious. Now they're panicking because they've got an unconscious superhero in Butcher's van, which is definitely not part of the plan and certainly wasn't in Hughie's wildest nightmares. Speaking of nightmares, we spoke about how evil these superheroes were. However, Homelander is basically the worst of them all. You know the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely? It most certainly applies to him since he's like the most powerful of the bunch. In the close of episode 1, Homelander lasers down the private jet of the mayor of Baltimore who was trying to blackmail the Seven. What was the blackmail about? We'll get to that later. In episode 2, Hughie and Butcher drag Translucent to this hideout where Butcher's crew hangs out. There's Frenchie, who is surprisingly French. Shocking, I know. There's Mother's Milk, who everyone calls MM. He's basically the dad of the group, trying to keep everyone from doing something stupid and unaliving themselves. Pretty hard task when you've got Butcher around, honestly, and later they rescue this woman who doesn't talk, but is really good at ripping bad guys apart. Her name is Kimiko. Honestly, they're all messed up in different ways, and together, they're called The Boys. And a girl. Nah, just The Boys. So that's The Boys. Now let's properly talk about who they're up against. Drum rolls. Introducing the Seven. There's Homelander, recall the guy who brought down a plane? Yeah, he is basically an evil Superman. Blonde hair, blue suit, American flag cape, big fake smile, and can have the perfect face for disgust when needed. On camera, he's Mr. Perfect America, but off camera, he is a complete psycho. Almost like if you gave a toddler superpowers and zero therapy, then made him captain of the football team. He's got zero sympathy and such a fragile ego. There's also Queen Maeve, Black Noir, The Deep, and A-Train, the dude that ran into Hughie's girlfriend. Plus, a new girl is joining the Seven. Her name is Starlight. And here's the thing, she actually wants to help people, but there's a problem. They don't actually help in the Seven. On her first day, the Deep takes her into a room and essays her, then straight up tells her, this is how things work here. And that's when you realize this show is absolutely not messing around. Back to the boys and their translucent problem. They can't let him go because he'll snitch and they'll all die. Can't keep him forever either. I mean, that'd be impractical. So Frenchie has this brilliant but batshit what are you thinking crazy idea. So Translucent's skin is indestructible from the outside, but what about from the inside? Frenchie proposes they put a tiny bomb inside him. So yeah, in one of the most awkward, uncomfortable scenes ever filmed, Hughie has to shove a bomb up Translucent's butt for having the smallest hands. They blow it up, Translucent explodes everywhere like a piñata. Hughie immediately throws up because he just killed somebody. But that's like a welcome to the team thing. So before Translucent blew up, he helped the boys with a name. A-Train's girlfriend, Popclaw. I mean, he wasn't completely useless to them. While Hughie's processing his accidental murder, he meets a cute girl named Annie in the park. They start getting really involved, except Annie is actually Starlight from the Seven, and neither knows who the other really is. Back to the Butcher and the boys. Butcher takes Hughie to meet a CIA lady named Susan Raynor, and she drops an absolute bomb on them. So apparently there's this drug called Compound V that makes superheroes. Every single superhero got their powers from being injected with this stuff as a baby. They're basically all BBL superheroes, all fake, all lies. Meanwhile, back at the Seven headquarters, Starlight's having the worst time. Homelander is terrifying and clearly unstable, as you can see the craziness in his eyes. After Starlight threatens to expose what the Deep did to her, they ship him off to Sandusky, Ohio, which the show treats like it's worse than actual prison. A-Train's constantly zooming around high on Compound V, desperately trying to stay the fastest. The boys continue to dig and probe, and they uncover more about Popclaw, thanks to Translucent's assistance. Popclaw is a lower-tier superhero, kind of a mess, but she's their ticket to inside information about the Seven and Vought, which worked great until things went really bad. She accidentally kills her landlord during sex while high on Compound V. She freaks out and calls A-Train, who helps her cover it up, but then A-Train gets paranoid, realizes she's been talking to someone and forces her to confess. Popclaw admits she's been talking to the boys and helping them with information concerning the Seven. A-Train, in a rage kind of, even things up between himself and Hughie. He injects her with way too much Compound V. Following a tip from the now overdosed Popclaw, the boys investigate a hideout where Compound V is experimented on individuals in order to make more soups. Remember we spoke about Kimiko, who was with the boys. This is the part where they found her. They find her imprisoned in terrible conditions, clearly traumatized. So Vought isn't just injecting babies. Heck, they're also experimenting on adults, probably testing different formulas or doses. It goes from bad to crazy real quick. Talking about crazy, Homelander, in one of the most talked about scenes in TV history, defined the word evil. I mean, we've seen superheroes stop a plane from crashing, buses from falling off a cliff. Matter of fact, they are sacrificing and risking a lot to pull these off. But never in about 130 years of cinema have we seen a superhero crash a plane filled with good guys. Homelander and Queen Maeve respond to a hijacked airliner. After easily stopping the hijackers, Homelander accidentally destroys the control panel with his laser eyes. The plane's going down with everyone on board. Homelander decides that trying to save everyone publicly and failing would be bad for their image. Better to let them all die and blame the terrorists.
We're done here.
He physically forces the protesting Maeve to abandon the plane. Hundreds of people crash to their deaths. Homelander shows zero remorse and spins the tragedy to push Vought's agenda for militarized soups. Later this season, we find out more about Butcher's backstory and why he's so obsessed with destroying Homelander specifically. So in the real story, Butcher used to work for the CIA with the boys as a team. His wife, Becca, worked at Vought as Homelander's social media manager. One night, she went to a Christmas party and never came home. Butcher thinks Homelander assaulted and murdered her. This is Butcher's driving motivation, the core of his obsession. He's not fighting Vought for justice or to save the world, he's fighting because Homelander took everything from him, and he wants revenge. But worrying about Homelander is not the only problem Butcher and the boys are going to have in a minute. You see, after killing Popclaw, A-Train returns to her apartment to clean up. He finds surveillance footage showing Frenchie, confirming that the boys have been involved. Now he knows who he's looking for, which, as we said, is pretty bad news for the boys. Next for the boys, they manage to steal some Compound V from a Vought facility. Finally, some proof that helps their struggle for justice. Meanwhile, Hughie and Annie are getting closer and actually falling for each other, which makes all the lying so much worse. While A-Train is hunting down the boys, his heart is literally failing from all the Compound V he's been pumping into his veins. Doctors tell him he needs to stop or he'll die. Does he stop? Nope. Using telepath Mesmer, the boys learn Kimiko was kidnapped by the Shining Light Liberation Army. Vought creates Compound V boosted terrorists for the Seven to fight. They're literally manufacturing threats to justify militarizing Supes. This is some ultimate corporate scam. Create the problem, sell the solution. Butcher takes this to CIA's Raynor, but she won't help him personally kill Homelander, only to go after Vought. But Butcher walks away. He only cares about revenge. Then Mesmer betrays them, giving Homelander surveillance photos of all the boys. Homelander calls a Seven meeting with the evidence. He knows Hughie killed Translucent and suspects Starlight's involvement. He accuses her of conspiracy, but Queen Maeve steps in to defend her. Then A-Train makes his move to kinda try to fix stuff. He calls Hughie, claiming he's holding Hughie's dad hostage and wants to make a trade. A-Train pulls out the world's oldest kidnapping plot. The boys no doubt are in a lot of mess right now. However, they quickly deduce that Mesmer must have given A-Train information about Hughie's family, which means Mesmer betrayed them completely. The washed-up telepath with bills to pay turned out to be untrustworthy. Who could have seen that coming? Butcher goes to handle the Mesmer problem personally, and by handle, I mean murder in cold blood. Just good old-fashioned British rage and a bullet. Hughie comes up with a plan for the A-Train situation, which is impressive considering he usually looks like he's about to throw up when making toast. He obtains Compound V to use as bait, pretending to trade it for his father's safety. It's a classic bait and switch, except the switch involves a superpowered woman with anger management issues. When A-Train shows up for the trade, Kimiko ambushes and brutally cripples him, ending his super speed career. Hughie and Starlight's relationship explodes when they discover he's been lying and using her for intel. They break up, genuinely heartbroken. Homelander visits Dr. Vogelbaum, who reveals Becca was pregnant with Homelander's child after the assault, but claims both died during childbirth and Vought covered it up. Butcher kidnaps Madeline Stillwell, straps her with explosives, and baits Homelander for a suicide mission. Homelander arrives and notices Butcher's heart isn't beating from fear, but anger, which fascinates him. Then Homelander turns on Stillwell, accusing her of manipulation and lasers her head off. So Season 1 ended with everything on fire. Not literally, but knowing this show, it's a possibility. Season 2 began with updates on the boys. They are basically now wanted fugitives. Starlight rage quit the Seven. Butcher's having an existential crisis because his dead wife isn't dead and has a superpowered spawn with the man that he hates the most. And Homelander's out here discovering fatherhood like it's a fun new hobby. Like fugitives, the boys live like rats. And this time, it's literal. They're literally hiding in basements, eating gas station food and trying not to get murdered by Vought's hit squads. Hughie looks really scruffy now, which is like the universal TV sign for time has passed and this character's going through it. As for Butcher, he has disappeared for a while and currently framed for the murder of Stillwell. The boys Light, which is the boys but without Butcher, still tries working from their hideout and continues tracking down Supe terrorists. They need to inform CIA Deputy Director Susan Raynor about this new threat. Remember Raynor? The CIA lady who reluctantly helped the boys with access to files and stuff? So they're trying to propose a deal with Raynor, like if we bring them in, can you clear our names? Everything seems fine until her head explodes. Just pops like a balloon at a kid's party. An unknown assassin with head exploding powers just murdered her in broad daylight, and nobody knows who did it or how. With the development of events against Hughie's wishes, because Hughie's wishes are apparently just suggestions at this point, Frenchie contacts Butcher to come lead the boys again. They need his experience, his connections, and his complete disregard for rules and human decency. On the other hand, Homelander is having the time of his life. Homelander keeps visiting Becca. Remember Butcher's wife who Vought's been keeping prisoner, and the kid? It's like the Truman Show, but with a superhero custody battle. Becca's trying to raise Ryan to be normal and kind, while Homelander keeps showing up like, hey sport, wanna learn how to laser things with your eyes? It's the world's most uncomfortable co-parenting situation situation. Vought doing damage control about the whole Compound V thing. You know, the drug that the boys exposed last season that creates superheroes. Their solution? Gaslighting on a corporate scale. They're like, Compound V? Creating superheroes? That's crazy talk. Anyway, look at all these super terrorists that definitely exist and weren't created by us giving the drug to random people. You see, Season 2 Homelander is basically having the time of his life. You know, no more the boys on his tail to annoy him. He's got a kid, and he is loving life being the boss of the Seven, and that's until a new problem surfaces. Introducing Stormfront. So, a little introduction. She's a new member of the Seven, and she's got electricity powers and a social media presence that makes influencers look amateur. She's all about memes and going viral and connecting with the youth. You know, let's say she's the PR final boss. This makes Homelander hate her, more especially because she's stealing his spotlight, and Homelander's ego is more fragile than wet tissue paper. But Stormfront is not alone. Matter of fact, she was introduced by the CEO Stan Edgar. Now, in case you're wondering why he just burst into the scene, oh well, he's been the CEO for the longest time. However, he decided to move from being dormant to more active. The CEO, Stan Edgar, introduces the new superhero to join the Seven without Homelander's approval. But here's the twist. And oh boy, is it a twist. Stormfront is secretly a literal Nazi. Like, not someone I disagree with online Nazi, but actual was alive in the 1940s and worked with Hitler Nazi. She's the first successful Compound V experiment, making her like 80 plus years old, but looking 40, because superpowers apparently include an excellent skincare routine. Homelander is pissed. This is his team, his spotlight, his empire. How dare Stan Edgar make decisions without consulting him? He tries to intimidate Edgar, probably expecting him to back down as everyone else does. Edgar doesn't even blink in one of the best aura farming episodes in the entire series. He just calmly explains that Homelander works for Vought, not the other way around. Back to the boys. Hughie's trying to hold everyone together while Butcher's gone. MM's got OCD and is slowly losing it, living in filth. Next, Butcher comes back. Hughie and Starlight, or should we say Annie, since she is basically not really with Vought anymore. Anyways, they're both doing this awkward, are we together or not dance. She's living in a safe house with the boys now after quitting the Seven, which went about as well as you'd expect. Now in Season 2, the conventional Seven, as everyone knows, are falling apart. A-Train's heart finally gives out. Remember all that Compound V he was injecting to stay the fastest? It has made him have a full-blown heart attack and nearly die. However, he ends up in a coma. Queen Maeve is having her own crisis. She's been closeted her whole career because Vought thinks a gay superhero won't sell to middle America. She had a girlfriend named Elena, but Vought made her hide the relationship. Black Noir gets more screen time this season, and we learn he's actually pretty weird. Like, he has these imaginary animated animal friends that he hallucinates, and they give him advice. Now, Stormfront and Homelander are not falling apart. Rather, they start this twisted relationship. She's manipulating him, playing to his ego, telling him he's a god among insects, and Homelander, who's desperate for someone to love him and tell him that he's special, eats it up. They start dating, and it's toxic as hell. She's also secretly pushing a white supremacist agenda, using her social media to radicalize people with memes and coded language. It's a really dark commentary on how extremism spreads online, except with more laser eyes. The boys get a tip from Colonel Grace Mallory about an old superhero named Liberty who disappeared after committing a racially motivated murder in the 1970s. They track down an elderly eyewitness who survived an attack by Liberty decades earlier. There and then they find out Liberty is actually Stormfront from the 1970s, before she changed her identity. They try to expose her, but here's the thing, nobody believes them. Vought's PR machine is too strong. They spin it as fake news, conspiracy theories, and deepfakes. It's honestly depressing how realistic this part is. Coming back to Becca and Ryan, Becca's desperately trying to keep Ryan away from Homelander's influence, but it's not working. Butcher, on the other hand, is still looking for a solution to deal with the Homelander and family problems. He makes a deal with this congresswoman named Victoria Newman. She seems like a great ally, right? Remember this name, because there's a twist coming that'll make you want to throw something at your TV. Stormfront's true agenda comes out when she and Homelander have this heart-to-heart, where she reveals everything. She tells him about being a Nazi, about how she believes people with powers are the master race, about wanting to get rid of inferior people. Meanwhile, the boys plan this huge attack to rescue Becca, Butcher's wife, who's been imprisoned by Vought, and Ryan, the superpowered kid who's caught between two worlds. They storm the facility. There's a massive fight, and Stormfront shows up. She starts wrecking everyone. Kimiko, Starlight, and Queen Maeve. Yeah, Maeve switches sides at the last second because even she has limits. They all team up to fight Stormfront. It's brutal. Stormfront's calling them slurs, going full Nazi, and these three women do quite some damage to her. Girl power! Stormfront's about to kill Becca, so Ryan panics and his laser eyes activate. He hits Stormfront, which is great, but the lasers also hit Becca. She is dying in Butcher's arms, and her last words to him are to protect Ryan, to not let him turn into Homelander. But here's where it gets complicated. Butcher promises Becca he'll protect Ryan, the kid he hates, the living reminder of what Homelander did to his wife. The season ends with more revelations that make everything worse. Remember Victoria Newman, the congresswoman who seemed like the good guy fighting Vought? Plot twist, she's got powers. She's the one who's been making people's heads explode this whole season. She is actually working for Vought as a secret plant. A-Train, desperate to be relevant again, finds out about Stormfront being a Nazi and leaks it to the media. This time, with her literally half dead and defeated, the story actually sticks. She's cancelled. Vought has to denounce her, and her reputation is destroyed. Homelander's got Ryan now, and he's taking him to a secure location. Butcher and the boys are regrouping, devastated by losing Becca. Everything's a mess. Everyone's in danger, and the only thing we know for sure is that Season 3 is somehow going to make all of this look tame. Maeve gives Butcher a critical lead, Payback, a superhero team from the 1980s, the prototype for the Seven. Their leader was Soldier Boy, marketed as America's first superhero, a World War II icon with a shield and super strength. Officially, he died during a mission in the 1980s, but Maeve believes that story is a lie. If they uncover how Soldier Boy really died, they might find a weapon capable of killing Homelander. Maeve also gives Butcher several vials of Temp V, a drug that grants temporary superpowers. It's dangerous, possibly lethal, but it might be their only chance. Meanwhile, Hughie encounters a man named Tony, who calls Congresswoman Victoria Newman by the name Nadia. Suspicious, Hughie follows them into an alley and witnesses Newman explode Tony's head with her powers. Hughie realizes Newman is a secret Supe, but she's also his boss, and he has no proof. Investigating Tony's last words, Hughie uncovers Red River, a Vought-run orphanage for superpowered children. Breaking in, he finds records proving Newman is actually Nadia, Stan Edgar's adopted daughter, planted in politics to protect Vought from the inside. Frenchie and Kimiko track Crimson Countess, Soldier Boy's former lover. When confronted, she panics, kills a civilian, and escapes, confirming Payback is hiding something. Butcher takes Temp V for the first time, gaining heat vision. Using his powers, he hunts down Gunpowder, Soldier Boy's former sidekick, who reveals Soldier Boy disappeared during a CIA mission in Nicaragua, led by Grace Mallory. This draws MM back to the team. Soldier Boy once destroyed his family's home during a reckless fight, killing his grandfather and ruining his family's life. MM wants Soldier Boy dead. At Vought, Homelander spirals after learning Stormfront committed suicide. During a televised birthday event, he has a public meltdown.
I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better! I am better!
But instead of losing support, his popularity surges. His fan base embraces his cruelty. Realizing he's untouchable, Homelander forces Starlight into a fake relationship and reinstates the Deep to torment her. Mallory finally reveals the truth. Payback was ambushed in Nicaragua, and Soldier Boy was captured by the Russians using a mysterious Supe-killing weapon. Hughie secretly takes Temp V, gaining teleportation powers, but his clothes don't teleport with him. The boys travel to Russia and discover the weapon is actually Soldier Boy himself, kept alive and experimented on for decades. When freed, Soldier Boy releases a massive blast that depowers Kimiko and escapes. They realize Soldier Boy is the weapon. His blasts can remove powers. Back in America, Newman publicly destroys Stan Edgar, taking control of Vought. Ashley Barrett becomes CEO, essentially Homelander's puppet. Starlight, Maeve, and Supersonic attempt to overthrow Homelander, but A-Train betrays them. Homelander murders Supersonic and threatens Starlight into submission. Maeve is captured. Soldier Boy hunts down Payback for betraying him, killing Crimson Countess. Butcher agrees to work with him, using his revenge to get closer to Homelander. At Herogasm, Soldier Boy confronts the TNT twins, triggering another blast that kills them and depowers others. Homelander arrives, leading to the first real fight with Butcher and Hughie powered up. Homelander is nearly defeated, but escapes. Starlight quits the Seven publicly and exposes Homelander.
My name is Annie January, and I quit.
Black Noir's backstory reveals Soldier Boy abused Payback for years. Noir led the Betrayal to escape the abuse. When Homelander learns Noir knew Soldier Boy was his biological father, he kills him. It's revealed Soldier Boy's DNA was used to create Homelander, making him his father. During the final battle at Vought Tower, Soldier Boy attempts to kill Ryan. Butcher turns on him to protect the child. Maeve sacrifices herself, tackling Soldier Boy out of the tower as he detonates. Homelander escapes with Ryan. Maeve survives, but is depowered and now free. Soldier Boy is recaptured, and Butcher is dying from the Temp V use. Newman rises towards the presidency. Homelander murders a protester in public, and the crowd cheers. Ryan smiles. From the way Season 3 ended, it was obvious Season 4 wasn't going to pull any punches. Homelander murdered a man in public, and people cheered, and the world didn't collapse. It adapted. That is where Season 4 begins. Season 4 opens roughly 6 months after that finale, and the first piece of news hits hard. Butcher is dying. All the Temp V he injected in Season 3 has taken its toll. His body is breaking down, his brain is deteriorating, and he's got limited time left. Starlight warned him, everyone warned him, but Butcher ignored it, because self-destruction has always been a part of who he is. Now, the most dangerous man on the team can barely stay upright. He's coughing up blood, suffering hallucinations, and losing control of his mind. For the first time, Butcher isn't the one leading the charge. With him sidelined, MM steps up as leader, and the boys are still operating, but things are very different. They've gone semi-legitimate, working sanctioned missions through CIA and federal channels to deal with rogue Supes. On paper, they're finally the good guys. In reality, they're trapped inside the same corrupt system that created Vought and Homelander in the first place. Hughie is struggling to adapt to this new structure. Without Butcher's chaos pushing him forward, he's forced to confront his own doubts, his family problems, and the emotional toll of everything they've survived. Meanwhile, Starlight has fully quit the Seven. She's done pretending the system can be fixed from the inside. Instead, she becomes the public face of the anti-Vought movement, openly opposing Homelander and calling out his growing cult of supporters. She's no longer playing defense. She's challenging power directly. Frenchie and Kimiko try to stay out of the spotlight, but Frenchie's past finally catches up to him. His time working for Little Nina and the murders he committed haunt him, especially when his relationship with Colin forces him to confront the damage he's done. When Colin learns the truth about Frenchie's past, it shatters what they had. Overwhelmed by guilt and unable to keep running, Frenchie ultimately turns himself in. Kimiko, meanwhile, focuses on healing, continuing speech therapy, and trying to reclaim the voice trauma took from her. On the political front, Victoria Newman is now the vice president-elect, running alongside presidential candidate Robert Singer, a vocal supporter of Supe regulation. Singer genuinely believes Newman is anti-Supe. What he doesn't know is that she's one of the most dangerous Supes alive, the same woman who's been secretly exploding people's heads for years. Newman plays both sides flawlessly. In public, she talks accountability and regulation. Behind the scenes, she protects Vought's interests and positions herself closer to real power. Only the boys and the audience know the truth. And then there's Homelander. After murdering a protester in public, Homelander faces legal scrutiny but no real consequences. His supporters have become a full-blown cult. Evidence doesn't matter. Reality doesn't matter. To them, Homelander can do no wrong. With accountability gone, Homelander stops pretending to be a hero. He openly embraces the idea of Supe's superiority. The mask is off. To strengthen his position, Homelander recruits Sister Sage into the Seven, the smartest person in the world. Her power isn't strength or flight, but intelligence. She sees patterns others can't. Plans move far ahead of everyone else, and begins advising Homelander strategically. With Sage guiding him, Homelander becomes even more dangerous. As Butcher's condition worsens, he starts working with Joe Kessler, an old associate who pushes him towards extreme solutions. But as the season progresses, it becomes clear that Kessler isn't real. He's a hallucination, a manifestation of Butcher's failing brain and darkest impulses, encouraging him to abandon restraint and morality entirely. At the same time, Butcher desperately tries to reconnect with Ryan, the son he promised Becca he'd protect. But Ryan is living with Homelander now, absorbing his worldview. He barely remembers Butcher and sees Homelander as his real father. Watching Butcher fail to pull Ryan back while knowing he's running out of time is one of the season's most painful threads. Throughout Season 4, A-Train quietly begins helping the boys, leaking information about Vought and Homelander. After years of selfishness and fear, he finally starts trying to do the right thing, whether out of guilt, fear, or genuine growth. By the end of Season 4, nothing is truly fixed. Homelander's influence is stronger than ever. The political system is unstable. The boys are fractured, exhausted, and running out of options. And Butcher, dying and losing his grip on reality, is closer than ever to crossing a line he may not be able to come back from. Season 4 doesn't end with victory. It ends with the world tipping closer towards authoritarian control, and the terrifying realization that stopping Homelander may require sacrifices no one is ready to make. Thank you so much for watching. We hope this recap helped catch you back up for the upcoming season. Since you're here, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on this video. Thanks again, and we hope to see you next time.